So I, male, 32, need some outside perspective on a family situation with my wife Emily, female 30, that's making me question everything. We've been married for 4 years, dated for 3 before that, and honestly, there's been this pattern with my family that I've tried to ignore for way too long. My parents are celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary this summer, and for months now, my mom has been planning this big family trip to Hawaii. First real vacation since COVID, and everyone's been talking about it nonstop. My mom, Pam, female 58, insisted on handling all the bookings herself because her friend Brianna works at a travel agency and could get us this amazing family discount, her words, not mine. Whatever, seemed fine at the time. Some background that's probably important. My wife has never really been accepted by my mom. There's always been this weird issue that I kept hoping would go away with time, but it's been 7 years, and if anything, it's gotten worse. Emily is seriously the most patient person I know. She's a nurse, which probably explains it, lol, but even she's had enough. Just a few examples of the shit my mom has pulled over the years. Last Christmas, she took like 20 family photos, and somehow Emily was only in one of them because my mom kept saying, "Oh, just the siblings for this one," or "just the original family for this one." And then when Emily offered to take some, my mom was like, "Oh, we need everyone in these," and handed the camera to my aunt instead. At Thanksgiving, 2 years ago, there was literally no place setting for Emily when we got there. My mom acted all surprised and was like, "Oh, I must have miscounted," and then made this big show of getting another chair while my dad just sat there saying nothing. My mom always introduces her as Charlie's wife and never uses her name. Even when Emily corrects her, she's constantly making these little comments about Emily's job, like, "Nursing is such a nice starter career. Emily's been a nurse for 8 years and loves it." Or, "When are you going to go back to school for something more advanced?" There's a family group chat that's been blowing up for months about this Hawaii trip. Emily would occasionally suggest something and either get completely ignored, or my mom would respond with, "We've already decided to do X instead," without ever actually discussing it with anyone. I probably should have said something earlier, but honestly, I just got used to smoothing things over. We've been trying to renovate our bathroom for like a year now, but keep putting it off because something always comes up. Emily's been picking up extra shifts at the hospital to make sure she could take the full week off for Hawaii, which meant I barely saw her some weeks. That's how committed she was to making this trip work. So anyway, 2 weeks before the trip, my mom finally sends over the complete itinerary with all the confirmation numbers and flight details. I'm looking it over and notice there's no plane ticket for Emily. The resort booking includes her, but there's literally no flight for her. I called my mom immediately about the missing ticket. She acted super casual about it, saying they forgot and that these things happen with big group bookings. When I asked how we were going to fix it, she sighed and said all the group rate tickets were booked and Emily would have to book her own ticket at a much higher price. When I pointed out that everyone else's tickets were $500 but last-minute ones would be at least $1,200, she suggested maybe just I could come without Emily. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sister Kristen jumped into the call, saying it was just an honest mistake and I shouldn't make a big deal about it. When I asked why nobody checked that everyone had tickets during the months of planning, Kristen just said they all assumed Mom handled it correctly. I was so angry, I said I'd get back to them and hung up. My hands were literally shaking. When Emily got home from her shift, I told her what happened. She got really quiet, which is always worse than yelling, to be honest, and just said, "It's always something with your mom." And then she reveals she's been keeping an actual journal of all the little slights and passive-aggressive things my mom has done over the years. I had no idea she was doing this. That's how much this has been affecting her, and I never realized how bad it really was. I felt like such an asshole for not standing up for her more. I mean, I always thought I was keeping the peace or whatever, but seeing her face when she showed me that journal, I can't even describe it. So I made a decision. I went online and booked us a trip to Mexico for the same dates. We had been saving up to convert our spare room into a home office, but this felt more important. I told Emily we were going to have our own amazing vacation, just the two of us. I called my parents back that night and told them we wouldn't be coming to Hawaii at all. My dad got on the phone and told me not to disappoint my mother, without saying anything about how they disappointed me or how they've been treating Emily. My brother Evan texted me later, asking if I couldn't just pay for the ticket to keep the peace. None of them get it. This isn't about the money. This is about years of my wife being treated like she doesn't matter. I told them all I'm taking a break from talking to them until they acknowledge what they did and apologize to Emily. My mom sent me a long text about how I'm tearing the family apart and ruining their anniversary, but hasn't said anything about being sorry for excluding Emily. Am I overreacting here? My family has always been super tight-knit, and sometimes I wonder if I'm making too big a deal out of this. But then I remember Emily's face when she showed me that journal, and I feel like I'm finally doing the right thing. Edit. Holy shit, I didn't expect this to blow up. Thanks for all the responses. Edit 2. To clarify, since a lot of people are asking, no, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. When Emily's bridal shower was happening, my mom forgot to send out invitations to Emily's college friends until 3 days before the event. And for our wedding rehearsal dinner, somehow the confirmation for Emily's parents got lost, and they weren't on the restaurant's list when they arrived. Edit 3. Some people asked if there could have been a genuine mistake with the booking. I thought about that too, but everyone else in the family got their tickets. Me, my parents, my sister and her husband, my brother, even my 2 cousins who were late additions to the trip. Just not Emily. After 7 years of similar mistakes, it's hard to see this as an accident. Edit 4. For those suggesting I just cut contact with my family, it's not that simple. Despite everything, I love them. I just want them to recognize what they're doing and stop treating my wife like an outsider. And for those saying I should have seen the red flags sooner, yeah, you're right. I've been making excuses for too long. Now for the first update. So, a lot has happened since my last post. First, thank you to everyone who commented and messaged me. Honestly, didn't think so many people would care about my family, but it felt really good to know I wasn't crazy for standing up for Emily. So we went to Mexico instead of Hawaii, and it was amazing. Like, maybe even better than Hawaii would have been, because we didn't have to deal with all the family tension. We stayed at this all-inclusive place that was slightly above our budget, but whatever. The bathroom renovation can wait a few more months. It's already been delayed like a year anyway. I discovered I actually really love snorkeling, which is weird because I've always been kind of nervous about deep water, but Emily convinced me to try it, and wow. We saw these incredible fish, and I could have stayed out there all day if I hadn't gotten water in my mask like every 5 minutes, because apparently I have a weird-shaped face according to the instructor. Thanks for that confidence boost, Eduardo. Oh, and we made friends with this couple from Michigan who were staying at our resort. Super cool people who randomly live like 30 minutes from us back home. What are the odds? We've already made plans to meet up for dinner next month. Emily says this is the universe making up for my family being awful. I had this really embarrassing moment where I fell asleep on the beach after like 2 drinks. Lightweight, I know, and got the worst sunburn in these weird patches. Emily couldn't stop laughing because somehow I ended up with this perfect handprint shape on my chest where I guess my hand was while I was sleeping. I looked ridiculous for the rest of the trip. We tried really hard to avoid checking social media during the trip because we knew my family would be posting about Hawaii constantly. I was doing great until about day 4 when I had way too many margaritas at the swim-up bar and ended up drunkenly scrolling through my mom's Facebook page at like 1 a.m. while Emily was asleep. Lots of perfect family vacation posts with a million exclamation points. Whatever. So we get back home feeling all refreshed and happy, though still kind of hurt about the whole situation, and we're dealing with getting back to normal life. You know, mountain of laundry, empty fridge, all that fun stuff. We'd been back for like 3 days, and we're still adjusting to not having someone make our bed and bring us food whenever we wanted. I'm sorting through the mail and find this postcard from Hawaii with my mom's handwriting. It said, "Wish you were here. Family isn't the same with members missing." Members. Not member, but members. Like they were missing multiple people, not just me. Emily wasn't even worth mentioning separately. I was so mad I almost ripped it up, but decided to keep it as evidence of her bullshit. But that's not even the craziest part. So we're still dealing with jet lag and unpacking when our doorbell starts ringing like crazy at around 7 p.m. on Tuesday. I open the door and there's my entire family standing there. Mom, Dad, sister Kristen, brother Evan, even my sister's husband Randy, who never gets involved in family stuff. My mom immediately told me we needed to talk about how I ruined their anniversary trip. Not hello, not how was Mexico, just straight to how I apparently ruined their trip. I was so caught off guard, I just stood there for a second before saying I didn't remember inviting them over. My dad looked super uncomfortable and said I owed my mother an apology. Kristen jumped in, saying I embarrassed the family by not being there, and that some distant relatives kept asking where I was. Like I'm supposed to care about what cousin twice removed thinks. I asked if any of them considered how Emily felt being excluded, and my mom just waved her hand dismissively and claimed it was a simple booking error, like it was nothing, like we were making a big deal out of nothing. Evan just stood there, looking at the ground the whole time. I always thought he was the reasonable one, but he couldn't even look me in the eye. Then Emily comes to the door to see what all the commotion is, and my mom barely even looks at her, just keeps addressing everything to me like Emily's not even there, which is exactly the kind of stuff we've been dealing with for years. I asked them directly if they came to apologize to Emily, and my mom said they had nothing to apologize for. That's when I slammed the door in their faces. I'm not proud of it, but I couldn't take anymore. They stayed outside knocking for like 5 minutes before giving up. My mom was crying really loudly. She always does this when she's not getting her way. And my dad was saying I was being disrespectful. As they were walking away, I heard Kristen say, "I told you this wouldn't work," which makes me think this whole ambush was her idea. I ended up blocking all of them except Evan on my phone and social media. It felt good, but also terrible at the same time. Like, I've never taken such a drastic step with my family before, and part of me feels guilty, but another part feels like I should have done this years ago. Emily's been super supportive, but I can tell she's worried about being blamed for causing problems between me and my family. She keeps saying she never wanted to come between me and my family, and maybe we should try to talk to them again when everyone's calmer. She's so much more forgiving than I am. And honestly, even though I told everyone I was completely done with my family's manipulation, I've been checking my phone constantly to see if anyone tried to contact me through like email or something. I guess old habits die hard. Some extended family members and my parents' friends have started reaching out to me. They've obviously only heard my parents' version of what happened. My favorite aunt texted me, "I don't know what's going on, but family is everything, Charlie," which made me doubt myself for a minute before I remembered all the stuff they've pulled with Emily over the years. Oh, and get this. Evan texted me yesterday saying, "We need to talk, there's more to this story," and asked to meet privately. What the hell does that mean? What more could there possibly be? Part of me thinks it's just another trick to get me to apologize, but Evan has always been the most reasonable one in the family, though that's not saying much. I agreed to meet him for coffee tomorrow. Maybe that's stupid, but I don't know. I guess part of me is hoping there's some explanation that would let me fix things with my family without betraying Emily. But I'm not expecting much. Edit. Thanks for all the awards and comments. Reading through them now. Edit 2. To answer everyone asking if I've gone low no contact before, no, this is the first time I've ever blocked family members or refused to speak to them. Growing up, the unwritten rule was always family comes first no matter what, which I'm realizing now was just code for let mom have her way about everything. Edit 3. A lot of people are asking if Emily knew about my mom's behavior before we got married. Yes, but it was more subtle back then. The really obvious stuff started happening after we got engaged. Emily thought it would get better with time. We both did. When I asked her about the journal she's been keeping, she said she started it on our honeymoon when my mom called our hotel room 3 times to talk to just me. Edit 4. Someone asked what Emily thinks about me meeting Evan. She thinks I should hear him out, but not get my hopes up. She offered to come with me, but I think Evan might speak more freely if it's just us. I promised to tell her everything immediately after. Edit 5. For those saying I should have cut contact years ago, yeah, probably. But it's not that simple when it's your family. And honestly, I kept thinking my mom would eventually accept Emily. Guess I was being naive. Now for the second update. So it's been about a week since my last post, where I told you guys about my family showing up at our door after we skipped the Hawaii trip. Anyway, I met up with Evan yesterday, like I said I was going to. I picked this coffee shop near my office. I got there early because I was anxious. Almost canceled a few times before I finally forced myself to go. I figured I'd at least hear what he had to say. Evan showed up looking like absolute shit. Like bags under his eyes, hair all messy, not at all his usual put-together self. He's usually the family golden boy who has everything together, unlike me, who's always been the family disappointment, according to my mom. He immediately ordered a triple espresso, which was already weird because he's normally a green tea with honey type of guy. We spent like the first 10 minutes talking about work and other random crap. He was clearly stalling. I was about to just straight up ask him what the more to the story was when he finally took this deep breath and started talking. And guys, I was not prepared for what he told me. Apparently, and I'm still not 100% sure I believe this, the family had secretly planned a surprise vow renewal ceremony for me and Emily as part of the Hawaii trip. Like a whole ass ceremony on the beach with an officiant and photographer and everything. I just sat there staring at him like an idiot for a solid minute. I literally couldn't process what he was saying. According to Evan, Emily was actually booked on a separate first-class flight, what the frick, that was supposed to arrive a day before everyone else as part of the surprise. The confirmation email apparently went to spam, and Kristen was supposed to verbally confirm with me about Emily traveling separately for work reasons, but got nervous and never actually did it. I straight up told him I didn't believe him. Like, this sounded like the most convenient bullshit excuse ever. Why wouldn't they just tell me this when I confronted them about the missing ticket? Why let us book a whole separate vacation to Mexico? That's when he pulled out his phone and started showing me evidence. He had photos of these custom decorations my mom had ordered with our names and wedding date on them, email confirmations for an efficient booking, arrangements with a photographer. I was honestly in shock. Like my brain was trying to process all this new information while also trying to figure out if this was some elaborate trick. Then Evan showed me an email from my mom to the wedding planner that said, Emily and Charlie need a proper ceremony since they only had that quick courthouse thing. And that's when it all started making sense. Are you kidding me right now? I said to Evan, look at how she talks about our wedding, like it wasn't good enough or something. Evan actually looked embarrassed and admitted, Mom has always been disappointed you didn't have a real wedding. For those who don't know, I didn't mention this in my previous posts, Emily and I got married at the courthouse because her dad was really sick with cancer, and we wanted to make sure he could be there. He passed away like 3 months after our wedding. We were planning to maybe do a bigger celebration later, but then COVID happened, and then life just happened. And honestly, our courthouse wedding was perfect for US. Emily's dad got to see us get married, and that was what mattered. I asked Evan why nobody just told me the truth when I complained about Emily's ticket. He sighed and said my mom felt like I should have trusted her intentions. Wow. Just wow. I asked if they really just let us book a whole separate vacation instead of explaining what was going on. Evan told me my mom thought we'd figure it out or come around before the trip. I asked why they all showed up at our house demanding an apology from me. And this is where it gets even more messed up. Evan told me my mom was hurt and wanted to make me feel guilty before revealing the surprise. I sat there feeling like my brain was short-circuiting. Like, I was relieved that they hadn't intentionally excluded Emily, like I thought, but I was also furious that my mother's pride prevented her from just explaining the situation when I confronted her. And I was super pissed that they were still judging our courthouse wedding when they know why we did it that way. The whole thing was this weird mix of good intentions wrapped in layers of control and judgment. Like, they wanted to do something nice for us, but couldn't help but do it in the most controlling way possible. I told Evan I needed time to process all this and went home to talk to Emily. I showed her all the pictures Evan sent me as proof. She had pretty much the same reaction I did, touched by the gesture, but disturbed by how my mom tried to control everything and her dismissive attitude toward our original wedding. We spent like 3 days talking about it, like really talking about all of it. And we decided that despite how messed up the execution was, there was at least some genuine good intention behind it. My mom is seriously the queen of ruining good intentions with her controlling behavior, but I've been trying to remember that she does actually care. She just shows it in the most dysfunctional way possible. So, after a lot of back and forth, we decided to arrange a family meeting at this neutral restaurant. Not at our house, not at my parents' house. I figured it was time for some actual honest communication instead of all this passive-aggressive bullshit. The meeting was intense. Everyone was uncomfortable when we first sat down. My mom kept giving Emily these weird looks, and my dad just stared at his menu like it was the most fascinating document he'd ever seen. I started by thanking everyone for coming and acknowledging that I knew about the surprise they had planned. I was trying to be mature about it, you know. But before I could even finish, my mom immediately jumped in with, "So you see why you should apologize to us now." And that's when I realized nothing had changed. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Actually, we need to discuss the real problem here." I pointed out how nobody simply explained the situation when I raised concerns about Emily's ticket, how they let us book a whole separate vacation and waste money rather than just telling us the truth. My mom did her classic deflection thing, saying I should have trusted her instead of assuming the worst. And then Emily spoke up, which shocked everyone because she usually stays quiet during family drama. She told them that trust is earned through respect, which has been missing. And then she calmly listed the pattern of exclusion she's felt over years. The photos, the place settings, the constant Charlie's wife stuff, all of it. My dad actually looked surprised and said he had no idea she felt that way, which is both believable and not, because he's always been oblivious to my mom's behavior, but also never really made an effort to see it. I finally confronted my mom about her controlling nature, how everything has to be on her terms, how she never considers other people's feelings or perspectives, how she judges choices that aren't the ones she would make. She started crying, classic mom move when confronted, and claimed everything she does is for this family. I told her that she does everything on her terms, without considering others' feelings. There was this really long, uncomfortable silence. Like the waiter came by and nobody ordered anything, and he just slowly backed away. Lol. Finally, and I was shocked by this, my mom actually said, "I may have been overbearing at times," which is probably the closest thing to an apology I've ever heard from her. Emily, being the amazing person she is, suggested we all start fresh with clearer communication. And to everyone's surprise, my mom reached out and held Emily's hand across the table. It was weird, but also kind of nice. So that's where we are now. It's still complicated. My relationship with my family isn't magically fixed or anything, but we've made some progress. My mom agreed to respect our boundaries and acknowledge that her good intentions don't excuse her controlling behavior. We're actually planning a small vow renewal ceremony for later this year, but this time with Emily fully involved in every decision. My mom tried to take over planning again, but I shut that down real quick. I'm learning that families are messy and intentions are complex. My mom genuinely wanted to do something special for us, but she couldn't separate it from her need for control and her judgment about our original wedding choices. I'm optimistic but careful about rebuilding trust with my family, but maintaining much firmer boundaries than before. Emily and I have agreed on some code words we can use when we feel like old patterns are starting again, so we can address them immediately. Honestly though, I'm still not 100% sure my mom has truly changed, or if she's just temporarily accommodating us until she can go back to her old ways. She made a comment about Emily's hairstyle last week that felt like the beginning of the old pattern. But Emily actually called her out on it right then and there, and my mom apologized. So, progress. Thank you to everyone on this sub for your support during this whole mess. Edit. Holy crap, this blew up again. I'm trying to read all your comments, but there are so many. For those asking if I believe the vow renewal was real, yes, I've seen enough evidence that I'm convinced they actually planned it. My aunt, who wasn't involved in the family mess, confirmed it too. The ceremony was definitely real. It's all the controlling behavior around it that was the problem.